A few minutes as people still join.
All in pain, all in surrender, all in shame. Holy, whole and holy, holy, whole and holy, precious parts of you, precious parts of you. Holy, whole and holy, holy, whole, all is welcome inside you.
Right. Hi, Fatima. Good to have
Holy,
you with us.
whole and holy, holy, whole and
Hi,
precious
can you hear me?
parts of
Yes, we
you,
can.
precious
Very good.
parts of
Can't see your
you.
smiling face,
Holy,
but I can hear your lovely
whole
voice.
and
So
holy, holy, all
there
is
she is. Hi.
welcome inside
Good to see you.
you.
All right. Well, we'll just get a couple more people coming in this morning, this Friday morning or afternoon, depending on where you're coming in from. So thank you all for joining us. Jeff Evans, my co-host Maya. Meta, Maya's going to take a little bit of more of a backseat producer role. She's not feeling very well. The COVID finally caught up to Maya, so she's battling the craziness of that. So we'll glad to have her here co-hosting in a less front role and more of a background role as well. So good to see folks. If this is your first time joining the journey of growth and belonging, welcome, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. It's always a wonderful, nourishing time for me personally to be with folks and to hear stories and to engage. It's a nice way for me. It's a great way on a Friday to kind of wrap up the week and almost kind of wrapping up the month already. As far as August is almost gone. So again, it's good to see folks. Welcome in. Very excited to have Arielle Sullivan with us today as our storyteller. We'll do some more formal introductions with her, a little bit of a little bio going through, and have her talk about her story. But just would like to say, Arielle, if you just share with us what was the song we were listening to as we came in, and why did you choose that song?
So the name of the song is Holy, Whole and Holy. So like fully whole and holy. And it is my own song that I caught on a 3-day solo fast in the wilderness. And my shadow came up. And so the song came through to me, and it was kind of like you're whole no matter what, in your wholeness, in your human experience. And I feel like that represents like Peter's philosophy as well in
Yeah,
terms of being fully human and loving every part of ourselves.
beautiful. And if it wasn't specifically obvious, that was the artist was Arielle. She recorded that herself in the studio. So beautiful. So thank you for sharing that, Arielle, as we get started. All right. Well, as we come into this again, if the first time here, basic process, I'm going to move into it's always connection before content. It's one of the key principles we believe in and that we model as well. So Maya's going to put us into groups of 3 to 4 here just for a few minutes and just have a quick chat of around the question, why did you choose to be here today? We had choices to be different places in this particular moment in time. So just have everybody in your breakout sessions, just take a couple minutes with each to kind of share. We give about 7 or 8 minutes for this, Maya, maybe 10. What do we? Yeah. Okay. So just a short time. And the protocols as we move into the breakouts is listen to see the world through your other partner's eyes. No judging, no advice, no interrupting, just share. And then we'll come back together and move into more formally move into the storytelling from Arielle. So Arielle will be in a group as well too. So we'll all be just joining groups as we come forward. So we'll go into groups answering the question, why did you choose to be here today?
Hi, William. Always sorry. Let's see.
Is it a little bit better?
Yeah,
Yes.
much better.
Oh, yeah. We've also had lots of people in the family that were sick. My daughter got sick. No, first my grandson got sick, and then he made his mom sick, and then my daughter went to my mom, and she made her sick. So yeah. Anyway.
No fun. Welcome back.
There we go. All right. Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome back. A few more folks joined us, which is great. I think I see Anita. Hello. Others. So I could have stayed in that conversation with Arielle and Enda for a long time, but we had to come back. So other things to do. So just curious, as you had a conversation with either people you've known or strangers that will soon be friends as we had those conversations, just what struck you about the dialogue as you listened to your other colleagues and yourself share? Why did you choose to be here today? What struck you about that dialogue?
I'll try and be polite. Can I?
Yeah,
Do we
go ahead.
jump in? Sorry, I don't know the etiquette, but yeah, no,
Either
it
way.
was. So yeah, I just as I just shared with yourselves, I'm just quite open and excited to be here, and it's already I feel it's wonderful to know that there's a fair few people out there who perhaps are thinking the same or have experienced things in different ways, but we're on the same journey. So yeah, thank you very much for letting me join. I'm very excited to be part of this.
Beautiful.
So that's what struck me, the resonance, I guess.
Resonance. Nice. Thank you, Enda.
I'm gonna go next. So I think the theme was openness to connect, openness to revisit flawless consulting or OD or the approach or the people, curiosity. So I think I can start with the word openness.
Great. Thanks, Wisdom. Thanks for being here.
Pleasure.
What struck me was the welcoming aspect of our group's chat. It was just nice and warm, and a space that was easy to feel comfortable in.
Thanks, Bob. Right. I think that's one of the essence for me, Bob, that draws me to the work, is it's a way to feel welcomed very quickly in a short amount of time. Less than 10 minutes, we feel like we're part of something, which is not easy to do sometimes in this chaotic world that we live in and exist in. So, well, thank you all for being here again. As we kind of explore, we're going to move into hearing from Arielle, her story. We've already heard her voice in song as we started us out, which was a beautiful way to start. Just a kind of a quick intro, and you can add anything you want. And Arielle, it's we've been in contact with each other, known each other for several years now. As she came into the fold, she has a lot of great history and background in large scale change, org culture. Started from her undergraduate and business degree into organizational development as well. And one of the things as I looked at your bio, that really just struck me is you say you want to empower all living beings to thrive. All living beings to thrive. So I just love that way of it, how that opens up a lot of different things. So I just and there's so much more to Arielle and who she is and what she does, and we're going to get a little glimpse into that realm as we move forward. So Arielle, again, thank you for joining and being in here. As we kind of start this around the journey theme of what you've been on, the kind of first opening question around. So why did you choose to be on this journey that you're on?
Thank you. I don't know if I chose. I feel like it chose me. I think I feel like I was born with a certain purpose in life, like, and I kind of came into this world with a track, which is not, I feel like it's not always common for everyone to like know their purpose, but I feel like I've known my purpose at least since my early 20s, of at least professionally, like what I'm supposed to be doing. And it goes even back to like, I grew up in a family with a father who was an OD consultant, and he traveled all over the world, and he did large group interventions and this methodology called whole systems transformation, which is a spin-off of Kathy Dannemiller's Whole Scale Change, who was his mentor. And as a kid, I followed him a lot, like on airplanes. He would take me with him because I'm an only child, and I'd go with him to California, or I'd go with him to Mexico, where he was doing some sort of consulting work. And I was kind of always in the background, not actually understanding at that point the work that he was doing, but I was exposed to the energy of it. And I was very resistant to anything that he wanted me to do, because he was like, he passed away in December of 2021. And, he was friends with Peter and knew Jeff well. And he was a larger than life personality, very eccentric, very like high energy, charisma, and also very pushy. And anything he wanted me to do, I was always very much like, I got it. Like, let me figure this out for myself. Like, don't get involved. Don't call my teachers. I got this. And so if I would have told you that I would have been doing OD work, like probably would have told you as a teenager that I would have not been doing anything similar to my dad. But I ended up going to college, and it was my senior year, and I already had a job lined up at Target. I was going to be a executive team leader. So you're like an assistant manager of the stores. And so kind of this like large fear that I had around getting a job it was 2010. So it was like right at the time of like the financial collapse. And I had something waiting for me. And my dad was working at Airbus doing large group work and in France. And he was like, do you want to come to this large group experience? And I was like, yes. Like I didn't even have that many classes in my last semester of senior year. Like I was pretty much like, I had a light schedule. I had a job lined up. So I was like, yeah, let's go. And I participated in this like 2.5-day large group intervention of this like ICT division, like the technology division. And it was French and German and Spanish and English employees. And, I watched something like significantly shift from the first day to the third day. And the first day, you're kind of curious, like what's going on, skeptical of this like change process. And, maybe not, some of them have never met before. It was like a cross section of leaders across the organization. And through the series of the 2.5 days, like I witnessed this like profound shift in energy, to the point where like the last day there was just like this palpable shift and people were excited and they were hugging and they had connected like authentically, and they had bonded like in the meetings and outside of the meetings, and they really believed in like the future direction of like being one voice, one heart, like one organization. And something like clicked in me, something like opened of there's power in this process. And if you can do this here, if you can do this in this like technology division, you can do this anywhere. Like this process can be applied to any system, and it can be really around any conversation. So is this like knowing that like got unlocked that I think I'm supposed to help with change using this process. And so I went back to school, or and I finished out my degree, and I like wrote my thesis on some of this work. And I went, and then I started doing Target. I hated it. It was a lot of learning, but I was miserable. It was just like really, really intense of a job. And I went back to Airbus the next year, like using my vacation at Target to, first I was on the logistics team and I was supporting, and then the second year I was leading the logistics team, because at this point I'm leading stores, right? And so I'm on the walkie-talkie and I'm getting a lot more comfortable like in that leadership position. And I was hooked. Like I was like, I love this work. I'm into it. I want to get into this field. And I was looking for a job to get me out of retail and into more OD centered work. And I found a job at Allstate Insurance. And took me a few months for them to like go through the interview process and hire me. But I finally got accepted. And for the next 7 or 8 years, I worked as an internal consultant at Allstate. And we did the flawless consulting. You know, we had folks from Design Learning come out and work with us over the years. I think I took the training like 3 times, as much as I could. And I did a lot of like change work and leadership work. And thankfully so, they were interested in large group interventions. And so I was able to like lead conferences. And I'm young, right? I'm like 23, 24, 25. And there was like something, I think we're getting into the mile markers question, Jeff, but I'll just keep talking if that works. Yeah, there was some trust and like empowerment that I had as being this like independent consultant that sat in HR but didn't report, wasn't doing HR stuff, and we could work across the enterprise. And so there was like freedom, because I would be given projects and I could go work with the leadership team, and I could like I don't know, meet them on their level, like kind of taking away that hierarchy and just like authentically working with them and their team, and being allowed to experiment and take on these large conferences. Like, and I did that for, you know, I think, I don't know, I probably did like 4 to 5 big large group events at Allstate. And I was practicing, like I was learning how to do this. And sometimes, and it's funny because like my dad, even though he was like a pretty big influencing force to me, like he didn't directly train me. He kind of like indirectly trained me. And everything that I've done in my life, like I've done on my own, like I've gotten on my own, like the clients that I have now, like it's just, I've had to learn this like through him, like kind of like side by side to him, but really through direct experience of how to convene people, because that's what it is. That's like that's what I'm doing in these large groups, and I'm convening a maximum mixture of a system, and I'm co-creating a design that helps to shift energy. And it's like creating a disturbance in a system to like reconfigure it to shift and be pointing in a new direction. Like it's not expected to change everything or implement the change. And I think that's where like large group, maybe the reputation of it has soured, because people are like, well, it's not sustainable. And I'm like, it's not meant to be the thing that changes everything. It's meant to like convene people, build connection, build relationship, align and around a shared understanding, and create a literal shift in the energetic field that like allows a ripple effect to happen. And so like this is working at like a quantum level of understanding of systems and a spiritual level for me. And so like for me, it's this like deep purpose and this deep calling that I have around like the change that's needed in the world right now, and the fact that like we are heading towards like collapse in many different ways. I just bought a book yesterday about like, and it just talks about like all the different levels of collapse that we're headed to right now. And this is a real thing. And so change professionals have a role to play because we know change, like, and we know, and I have a systems change background. So all the large group interventions are like framed around the science, like the underpinning the design of them has to do with systems and how systems work and how complexity science works. Like there's like, you can go so deep into this and it can get a little like, I don't know, heady. But there's a magic and there's an intelligence that's like working alongside you when you're convening large systems and when you're orienting them towards a shared purpose and a future direction. And that's literally like what I'm here to do. But what's different for me is that it is no longer about the organization. It is about the across the organization and working across boundaries and across sectors, across industries. And that's where the community comes in. So like, I'm not interested in doing large group interventions in organizations anymore. I'm interested in convening cross sectors of leaders to design a series of like kind of like an intent for change and for an alignment. Because like we have to transcend our individual institutions when we think about like climate change, and we think about like humanitarian issues that come from climate change, and the fact that like, and it's more than just climate change, but it's like all these different elements of the economy and, you know, our systems, right? Our current systems that are breaking down. We have to come together. We have to bridge across barriers. We have to start shifting our systems and our structures. Like we do need to lean into an alternative energy future that's not dependent on fossil fuels. And I'm like not afraid to say that. I have been studying the regenerative movement since 2020. And all of this has to do with living systems and designing systems and structures that uplift all living systems. And when I say living systems and living beings, I'm talking about more than just humans. I'm talking about plant species, you know, and ecosystems and animals and humming like bees and pollinators, like all these like very delicate ecosystems that are all working in like concert with one another to allow us to eat food and drink water and breathe air. Like we can't separate ourselves from these things. And yeah, there's just opportunity for change and to convene people around some pressing issues. And that is where my work is heading. I'll pause right now. I think this is a good pausing point.
Awesome. I was just entranced by what you were sharing, Arielle. So thank you. So yeah, I think you definitely hit a lot of the kind of milestones for you personally, and as you kind of went through on this journey. I love your first answer around this work kind of found you, right? So it's how do we find the work? It does kind of discover us as we're in there. I've experienced similar things. I'm just curious, and maybe you've touched on a couple of as you're reflecting on the journey and the milestones and where you are now. What were some of the surprises that kind of maybe came up? Maybe you had a certain view of the world or view of something, or just any surprises along this journey that you want to maybe you've shared and want to embellish more on, or maybe some new ones around. What's been the most surprising for you on this journey?
I think the fact is that like the journey is continuing to surprise me. Like I don't have the answers, and I kind of know like 10 feet in front of me at all times what my path is. Because I'm, just to kind of finish the story, like I went from Allstate, internal consultant, and then I
How
went to
are you? Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
If you want to mute Fatima, cool. Yeah, I went to Pepperdine to do my MSOD program, the master's in OD, and wanted to move to the West Coast, and found an external consulting job in Seattle. And I did that for about a year. And then I hated it, but I learned a lot. I learned so much. And I feel like I'm grateful for it now. I can like look back on it and not be traumatized. But I realized like in that process, like for me to do the work that I want to do, I think I have to go independent, because like not everyone's like, can't find positions for large group intervening. Like there's no, even if you're looking for an OD position, like it's like a very small chance that they like want to do large group interventions. So I've been like a niche. I've been a very, very niche, and like what my strengths are niche. Like I'm really good at like a niche thing. I'm not good. There's things that I'm not good at, right? And so it's like I'm like I need to do my destiny. I need to do what I'm supposed to be doing here, and if I'm going to do it, I have to do it myself. So I launched my business in 2019, like right before COVID. Had a couple clients, and then COVID hit, and then it was a disaster, but made it through. And it's been kind of like this continual like, well, what's 6 months going to look like from now? Like what's a year and a half going to look like from now? Like what's my client work going to be? It's a hustle. And it's this like trust that I have in the universe to take care of me, because I know this is the work that I'm supposed to be doing. And when I look back, and like a lot of people don't want to be in this position, they don't want to lose the stability and the predictability. And like, I always look back on the past and I'm like, have you ever failed me? Like, have I ever not been okay? Like, no. I mean, like, yeah, I've always been okay. I've never not been, I've never been failed. And so looking forward to the future, it's this like, I don't really know what it's going to look like. I don't know how my career is going to continue to open up. Although I feel I'm at a point right now where like, I look to the future and I see this. I see this like opening of possibility and of work. And I have a project. I've been doing more community engagement work, like public sector work with homelessness and with waste prevention, and engaging a very diverse mix of businesses across Seattle for input on the strategic plan for the city of Seattle for waste prevention. And like the whole stakeholder prioritization has been like very like centering underrepresented groups at the margins that are racially and ethnically diverse, and like understanding what role they play and what role they want to play in helping the community prevent waste. And so like I've shifted from like corporate leadership stuff to like community public sector stuff. And like the homelessness thing is centering a BIPOC committee with lived experience that gives input on the 5-year plan for Thurston County, which is where Olympia is in Washington, which is the capital of Washington. And so these things have been tastes of like, oh, this is the type, I think this is like getting closer. Like all the projects that I'm on, it's like, it's a solar company. It has to do with waste. It has to do with homelessness. I'm like, okay, these are regenerative organizations. Like these are things that are tackling social issues, that are thinking about a regenerative future, a green energy future. Like this is where I want to put my energy. But it's like, I have to trust the process, and I have to trust that like, I just have to trust in my future direction. And I think like I think that's been surprising for me, because I think I want more predictability, and I think everybody wants more predictability. And the other thing that surprised me is that like the process of my father and the process of Kathy Dannemiller and the process of Sandra Janoff, all these large group people, it's like, I still believe the process is evolving. Like, I still believe the methodology is evolving because we are not linear, and like a strategic plan is not linear, and it shouldn't be designed in a linear fashion. Like, our change management shouldn't be linear. Like, change is not linear. Systems are not linear. You cannot control or predict outcomes in systems. And so I'm looking at all these processes and I'm like, what about this process needs to change? Like, how do we make it more dynamic? How do we make it more iterative? How do we make it more adaptive? Because that's regenerative. Those are the regenerative principles. And so I'm hopefully going to be doing this project that like I feel like is going to launch my career in it's a whole systems conversation in the composting industry with like every major player. Like, and it's like fundraising for this, like pray for me. I feel like it's going to happen because it needs to happen because there's a real need for everyone to come together. And that's why I know this work is going to like continue, because there's a real pressing need for stakeholders to come together and align and generate a shared understanding of like, what are we going to do about this? Like, this is mission critical. We have to change. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know exactly the answer yet of like, I think this needs to change in this way. I think this process needs to adapt. I think we need to do the strategic planning in a more adaptive, iterative fashion. I know that we can't control all of these stakeholders. In an organization, in a hierarchical organization, you can implement change with command and control because it's hierarchy. In a trans org community, like cross-sector system with all these different organizations and like different power structures and cultures, like you can't command and control that change. So how do you lead change, and how do you seed change and like shape change in a way that allows for self-organization and a way that allows for like this constant, like, what are we learning now? What are we learning now? What's changing? What's going to work for you is going to be different than what it's going to work for me. But we know that we all need to head towards this one goal, right? So like, that is the art, I think, of the thing that I'm still learning. And that like, I'm fully happy to say, like, I don't know how it's going to go.
I love it. I love the surprise of the surprise. Absolutely. I jotted down here a theme I'm hearing for you too several times in your experiences. But you've said, I hated it, but I learned a lot. That's a nice reflection that says, in the moment it was like, why am I the struggle? And that kind of leads me to another question. And potentially, I know for myself, I do get tempted to move toward predictability, right? There's times when the comfort that whatever that what have you done, or what do you find yourself if you are beginning to maybe move more toward that dominant, hey, let's just kind of be more safe, be more predictable? How do you know you're moving that direction, maybe, Arielle, and how do you continue to move into this space where it's evolving, it's co-creation, and it's not predictable?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm also working with I'm working with a client who, I mean, they're like deep experience in like kind of like systems that have predictable processes, and that like they do run their systems based on control, and like they're going to want some of that. And I'm also working with a consultant who is like, well, this is future search and we're doing the future search process, and it's like, well, this is what they say. And so it's like working with both of them to be open to testing. Like, some things are mission critical, and some things are the science and we need it this way to work with the change equation, and other things like we can experiment with. And so I feel like I might fall into like the status quo of what somebody wants to do until I really feel in my bones like we got to do something else. And then like something like the flame in me like turns on, and like I actually can't be quiet about it. For better or for worse. Like it's like if I really feel like it's a risk by not testing something out, or if I'm not going to speak my truth, like I will start spasming. Like I actually, it's so real for me in my body that I actually have to say something. And I feel like that helps leading change. Like it's helped me, and it's also hurt me, like dealing with senior leaders, right? Like I'm a 24, 25, 26 year old. And like I'm bold, right? And like I ask the tough questions and I go there and like sometimes I don't even see the hierarchy. And like I feel like I've had to learn the art of like kind of like having to like lick my wounds sometimes or swallow my pride, like if I do something too assertively too soon. But it's really like that art of like flowing and like not being quiet and not being complacent and not just like being subservient to the existing power structures, like really being bold and feeling into your intuition and feeling into your gut and like speaking up for that. And like, what is it? It's like the whole flawless consulting stuff. It's like, what am I feeling in my gut right now about this? And like, what's the risk of me not voicing this for the project? And what's the most respectful way that I can voice this?
Absolutely. The respect thing came to my mind too, as far as we work in organizations that are hierarchical or designed, we can't just go in and blow them up. We got to respect where they are and also help them make some choices to move in maybe a different direction. So it's definitely an art and it's not a science, and it combines science. I love the way you said it does. There is some science that's with this too. So it's a nice way to combine, as Peter calls it, between the technical and the relational. There's a piece that we create together. So, oh, wonderful. All right. I think it's at this point in time, I think we'll move into our breakout. And just to kind of in our breakouts, what we usually do on this, folks, is just kind of when you go to your breakout, just kind of share what were some of the things as you listened to Arielle that kind of struck you, maybe some things about your own journey, questions, type of things. Is there anything in addition to that, Arielle, you'd like them to maybe reflect on in this breakout for the next 10 to 12 minutes? Or just let them roll with what struck them? Anything's fine. I just want to give you an opportunity if there's a specific direction you'd like them to reflect on in this next breakout.
Yeah, it's kind of like what's bubbling up inside of you when you think about change and systems change for a future that uplifts all living beings.
Love it. Beautiful. Well, very well stated. So with that, we are going to move into our break. I think we can put 15 on it, Maya. I think we got enough time to kind of see what we try to do for the breakouts.
Yeah. We only have
So-
13 minutes left in the session, Jeff.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
We go to 40. Don't we go to 45?
oh yeah, we do. Sorry.
Okay.
COVID brain. My fault. Yeah, 15 minutes. is
Whatever
perfect.
time's on there, folks, just to use the best. Again, listen to each other and for the other eyes, and we'll see you back here in a few to reflect some more and close it out.
Great. Opening up. Oops. Oops.
I know I'm gonna figure it out. I just have to panic first. Panic first. It's part of my process. I know I'm gonna figure it out. I know I'm gonna I know I'm gonna figure it out. I just have to panic first. What Trump says. I know I'm gonna figure it out.
Welcome back.
Great. Everybody back in. Beautiful. All right. Well, we could have kept going longer and longer on that one. We had all kinds of things. As we what struck me about that is that we were talking. The question is what's bubbling up for me, and as I talked about what's bubbling up for me, more things kept bubbling up for me. So the bubbles were flying. So, so just curious, just to hear from a few folks. What struck you about that conversation in particular? If there's something you want to share with Arielle, as far as something that struck about what she talked about, or a question for Arielle, we open it up for that. But it's open to anything at this point that struck you about that dialogue, and also in particular, something you want to share or ask of Arielle as our storyteller today.
I wrote in the chat, it's all connected. Connection is key. Keep the conversation going. Something Arielle said, just get them in a room and talk, and kind of poke around the bear when you feel something is not right, and try to see through the barriers and the resistance and the openness, but those people who are not talking and sitting in the background, and yeah, keep using those tools that we have to enable discussions that go deeper and deeper and deeper into moving forward together, and really work on our areas of development to get into a good place, and yeah, get on a single page, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Wissam.
One of the things we ended our conversation on is around the need to grieve and process what's going on collectively, and how Anita and Arielle teed this up, but how we're so, we don't want to think about what all's happening. That's too hard. So let's just distract ourselves with other things. But there's a lot to grieve and process over the last 4 years, and also what the outlook looks like. So I don't know if anyone else wants to comment on that, but we don't, I think in a lot of ways we've lost our ability to grieve collectively in a lot of modern societies. We don't allow ourselves that. So then it, in my mind, gets kind of stuck in a toxic way in our bodies, in our families, in our organizations, in our communities.
When it gets stuck.
Sorry, Arielle.
I was just gonna briefly say, like, in other cultures, like, there are professional grievers that come to the community and that grieve and they wail, and sometimes they bring the whole community into this collective wailing, grieving process, and just collapsing in their own grief. And like, what a beautiful thing to do.
Yeah, we had that back in Lebanon. So I experienced that. There was one person who would come in at the funeral, and he would kind of guide the funeral, and with chants and all that. On that note, I read a book called The Body Keeps the Score. I don't know if anyone knows it, but it talks about traumas and how we deal with that and how we don't deal with that. And I found it really interesting. But on that subject, we spoke in our breakout room about social media, and I found that social media kind of has desensitized people on the idea.
I think you froze on us with some, so get you mid-sentence. While we're waiting for others, what bubbled up? Things to add?
I can't help but notice how kind of visceral all of our commentary is, how important awareness of yourself and your body is as you're talking. And I mean, it seems to come up in a way that I don't notice with as many audiences or many people that are much more into the work of their mind. And so that just seems like such an important value to what we bring, the awareness of our physical being, where we are, how we really do physically need to come together. It seems to just keep coming up whenever we talk in our small groups too. So yay, embodying what we do.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Wissam, you're back. You got cut off.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know where I was cut off, but
Something we're desensitized by social media. Where I was
yeah,
at.
just it's small videos of people doing random stuff, and you just go through them, and you're becoming desensitized to the idea of hurt and harm and people dying. And although death is a very natural thing, it's the most certain thing in life, that and change. So, but it's how we process it.
Hmm. Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, so I was struck time and time again by Arielle's journey, and Arielle, when you mentioned so many times about the forces at play and the magic and the intelligence that speaks to large groups when you connect with it. Also, that same, magic and intelligence has guided you personally at all these different inflection points in your career and all the decisions that you've made. And it's amazing to see that even, when you were talking about your future work in the regenerative trans org space, you could see that because you were kind of like a fire in how you were presenting at that time. And so I'm very new in my OD journey and very much in like the personal exploration phase of it. And I find that I've been paying attention to that as well. That's something I'm trying to learn to do more often, is tap into that energy and understand where it's coming from and how it guides, because it's really basic. It's just, you distill it down to an incredibly basic level, but what guides you also is guiding the whole. And anyway, I've been really happy to hear it in your journey and see it today.
Thank you. Yeah, the spiritual aspect, and like, I don't know, call it energy, call it spirit, whatever it is. I feel as though my healing is interwoven with the whole. We're not free, we're not liberated until we're all free and we're all collectively liberated. And like, we do have individual journeys, and I have spaciousness right now a little bit in my calendar, and I'm like prioritizing my healing, and I'm prioritizing my energy and like how I feel in my body, and like that ripples out like quantumly with my surroundings, and like keeping. My dad my dad was a meditator and a yogi, and like had this whole spiritual side, and he was always said, like, keep your energy up, like do something one day that's going to shift your energy in your body. Like, it could even be going on a run, it could be meditating, it could be singing, it could be doing some movement. Like, do one thing every day that shifts your energy and kind of like revitalizes your system. Because I noticed that last a couple weeks prior had not gotten a lot of movement in, and it really impacted how much energy that I had and how I felt in my body. And I'm like, wow, this is so important for me. The wellness, the well-being, the aliveness of my system.
Yes, aliveness. That's my key centering word for myself this year and beyond, aliveness as we go. So we are close to the time that we've allotted, folks, and we always want to make sure as we do this anytime we convene, and that this we have created a community with the 9 or 10 or 12 of us today. So this has been a community. Appreciate all the people that joining in, but this is the time now to share gifts. So just ask anyone who has someone has said something or done something in this time together that has touched you, that has something that's an appreciation. Just ask you to share that, and please be specific if it's to a specific person. And we'll just have some time to share appreciations, something that somebody has done or said in our time together, and then we will move to close.
Well, I can jump in. Arielle, you gave me the gift today of your song, which was really nice for me because my system is not as well today as normal. And but it centered me, I think, and allowed me to keep like at ease this whole the whole session. So I'm grateful for that gift.
I'd like to appreciate you, Maya, for being here, in spite of being really ill. And I also want to appreciate Arielle and Diane for our conversation in the breakout rooms. It was really deep and very touching. Thank you.
And I want to appreciate Jeff and Maya and Arielle for convening us. And for me, this has been such a refreshment. Sense of dehydration of this kind of thing. So thank you for filling my cup. And for Anita and Azure and with some in the breakouts too for helping me do that.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'd like to just add thank you very much as well for yeah, just very happy to have been part of this call. Thank you, Jeff, Wissam, Arielle, for being in the breakout rooms, and thank you all for sharing some wonderful insights. Really, to sometimes you feel isolated, and with remote working, and by the sounds of it, I'm you know, I'm a little bit far from where you guys are all based, but it feels nice to be with like-minded people in some shape or form. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Enda, for choosing to be here. We finish up. So we are at the end of our allotted time. My request, my want is for all of you to stay connected to each other. If you've connected to somebody in this session, we don't need to wait till next month's storytelling session. Reach out. It is kind of some lonely work at times, but don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. We do have the LinkedIn group that this is kind of centered through. If you have things you want to post on there, questions, dialogue, stories, please interact. And I love your analogy, Diane, as far as we rehydrating ourselves in this space. It's very nourishing as we do that. So, in the chat, I put some connection things directly to some of Arielle's work. So if you want to learn more about some of the things that she's doing, her personally as well as her work, please use those connecting pieces there. The song's going to be on Spotify soon. Is that what I'm hearing, Arielle? So okay, we'll look for that beautiful song out there as well. And folks, just have been very nourishing for me. So we'll close it out formally. Can hang here for a bit if people want to continue to hang. So all right, folks.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I tell you, I'm sorry I was so not present to the conversation, just the beginning, because I had a legal thing that I was trying to deal with. But I'm so happy to be here always. And I had questions for Arielle, but I just couldn't formulate them and put them in the chat while I was trying to do this other thing. So I appreciate you all and
Thank you,
looking
Fatima.
forward to the next one. Yeah, thank you.
Very good.
And thank you for Arielle's information, because I definitely want to share it with a friend of mine who's also into regenerative movement. And she's in Italy. I don't know where is Arielle? She's here in the US.
Seattle. Yeah.
She's in Seattle. Okay, but I'll share this information with her. Yeah.
Great. And we do,
All
you
right.
mentioned, we do have many folks that come to these from all over the world. So it happens to be most of us are more US centric right now, but we have people all over the world that jump in and join us. So the Zoom can bring us closer together in spite of the connection.
All the
And
disconnect.
Maya's in Brazil. So that's good. All right, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you,
Right.
partner Maya.
Hey,
Feel better,
yeah,
Maya.
hey,
Have a good
Maya.
weekend.
Can I just
Thank
say,
you.
Maya, I've seen the work you've done. Like, I can see the trajectory of what's been happening through social media with design learning, and I know that's your work. And I'm very grateful that, you're positioning Peter's work in a way that people kind of can get it through this social media that you have been, I'm assuming, been in charge of, kind of. Good
Thank you.
work. I want to say good
Thank
work.
you so much.
You're welcome.
A
You're
lot.
welcome.
Bye, folks.
All
Have
right.
a good
Good night.
weekend. Take care. Thanks again,
Bye.
Arielle.
Fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.